You are listening to Fonos. Right to win for Vietnamese agriculture. AgriS and Betrimex's path to success in the global supply chain. Lead author Đặng Huynh Uc My. Exclusively available on Fonos. This audiobook version was adapted from the printed edition under a copyright partnership between Fonos and An Books Company Limited. Forward. The philosophy of Vietnamese agriculture, the right to win, does not rely on luck. There are books not just to read, but to hold up as a mirror to ourselves. Right to win for Vietnamese agriculture is one of those. It doesn't shout, romanticize, or hide behind slogans. Instead, it poses a quiet yet profound question. How can Vietnamese agriculture earn the right to win, not merely hope for a lucky break? That question belongs not just to one enterprise, but to the nation itself. The right to win lies beyond luck. Its author, Đặng Huynh Uc My, a young entrepreneur in Vietnam's sugarcane and coconut industries, has chosen a different route, not merely to do business, but to build ecosystems. Uc My sees agriculture not through the eyes of a trader, but through those of grower, investing, nurturing, accumulating, and creating values. The right to win, Sides Pride, is not a bleeding market gap to exploit, but a doorway of mindset, one that opens when we deeply understand our land, our crops, our people, and the fairness embedded in every value we create. Reading the book, one can't help but picture the vast fields of Đồng Tháp 10 or the Mekong Delta, where farmers still toil under sun and rain, selling rice by the kilo without ever speaking of market share, value chains, ESG, or net zero. Perhaps their true winning edge is not about yield, but about voice, having their voices heard and respected within the value chain. The book chronicles the journey of AgriS and Betrimex to Vietnamese companies bold enough to take the long, difficult path from sugarcane and coconuts, humble as they seem, to internationally recognized brands. In their stories, we see a portrait of a confident, transparent, and knowledgeable agriculture, one that doesn't merely export raw materials, but export trust, one that doesn't chase ESG certification for formality's sake, but lives by ESG as a way of doing business. Within that spirit lies what Vietnamese agriculture most needs today: creation, connection, and shared growth. When businesses see farmers as partners, and when farmers no longer sell just crops, but the value of sustainability, we are moving in the right direction. Sustainability is a responsibility. What lingers most from the book is the perseverance of those searching for the true winning edge. They do not seek shortcuts. They do not chase fast profits. They move slowly but steadily, measuring emissions step by step, experimenting with precision agriculture, piloting model farms before scaling up. What makes them admirable is their patience with time and respect for nature, because nature, like people, cannot be forced to measure overnight. As the author writes, sustainable agriculture is not about moving fast, it's about going long and going deep. That is when entrepreneurs began to speak the language of farmers, and farmers learn to understand the language of markets. After years of working alongside farmers, one realization stands out. Vietnam has many who are skilled growers, but too few who are skilled sellers. Right to win makes a simple yet powerful point. If we want to succeed in the global markets, we must understand both the language of the soil and the language of the customer. From that conviction comes the 3C model: AgriS, smart, efficient, precise production; Proceed, deep, circular processing; ComC, global trade and branding. It may sound technical, but behind it lies a profoundly human philosophy to respect every small link in the agricultural value chain. A drop of coconut water, a strand of fiber, a bit of bagasse, all can hold value if organized wisely and guided by enduring belief. Vietnamese agriculture is transforming from quantity to quality, from raw to refined, from dependent to self-reliant. Uc My's book doesn't just show us how to change. More importantly, it reminds us why we must believe again. Believe that Vietnamese agriculture is strong enough to compete globally. That every farmer, every enterprise can find their own winning edge if they can reorganize their thinking, stay true to the real value, and keep learning relentlessly. Open the door with the key of knowledge. After closing Right to Win, one image lingers: sugarcane, coconuts, and rice, all bowing their heads before the mother soil, before rising again as product proudly marked product of Vietnam. They bow not in submission, but in gratitude, gratitude to the land, to the people, and to the genuine values that sustain us. If the book offers one enduring message, is it this: the winning edge is not a destination, it's a journey where we learn to respect value, preserve trust, and stay the course with what we believe is right. And perhaps when Vietnamese agriculture finds its right to win, we too will rediscover our right within. The pride every Vietnamese farmer and entrepreneur feels for what they have cultivated on this resilient, generous land. Lê Minh Hoan, Vice Chairman, National Assembly of Vietnam. Right to Win celebrates AgriS and Betrimex 50 years journey, showcasing how Vietnamese agriculture can strengthen its global position through strategies connecting partners, farmers, and markets. It highlights environment, social, and governance (ESG) approaches as a practical tool for corporations, small businesses, cooperatives, and farmers to access higher value markets. It is great to read how Australia has been the setting for AgriS's first global experience, shaping its data strategies, 3C business model, and financial framework, transforming how AgriS grows, produces, and sells its products, and shaping its net zero 2035 vision. This book will spark dialogue, inspire bold ideas, and in doing so, make an important contribution to Vietnam's net zero 2050 goal, while also strengthening Australia-Vietnam agricultural collaboration. Sarah Hooper, Consul General of Australia in Ho Chi Minh City. Acknowledgements. This book was born from a desire to share the journey of sustainable agriculture pursued by AgriS and Betrimex with those who are deeply passionate and committed to shaping the future of Vietnamese agriculture. To bring this book to life, we have been fortunate to receive invaluable support and contribution from our purchasing partner, consulting partners, supply chain partners, and agri-entrepreneurs in the raw material regions of Tây Ninh, Vĩnh Long, formerly Bến Tre, and Gia Lai provinces. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the partners and agri-entrepreneurs mentioned in this book, as well as to the hundreds of agri-entrepreneurs and tens of thousands of farmers in the raw material regions whose daily work continues to inspire us. Your contributions are priceless. I am also immensely grateful to the leaders of AgriS and Betrimex, as well as own colleagues who enthusiastically participated, sharing stories, data, and invaluable insights. Most especially, I express my deepest gratitude to my parents, entrepreneurs Đặng Văn Thành and Huỳnh Uc, who laid the foundation and inspired the principles of fairness, a vision for sustainability, and professional governance that define AgriS and Betrimex today. I firmly believe that in the development journey of Vietnamese agriculture, the most critical element is not capital, technology, or land, but trust built on transparency and consistency. Transparency to ensure verifiable data and consistency to uphold unwavering commitments over time. If technology serves as a tool to digitize processes, measure performance, and trace every link in the chain, then a platform is the means to organize and connect farmers, businesses, research institutes, banks, customers, and government within a unified system where information flows freely, value is distributed equitably, and responsibility are shared. Thus, this book is also my way of sharing my responsibility as a leader of a high-tech, circular agriculture ecosystem, zero waste, the path of AgriS and Betrimex with the Vietnamese agricultural communities and, more broadly, Vietnamese enterprises to collectively build Vietnamese agriculture into a global hub for agricultural innovation. Within the scope of this book, we invite you to explore the path of high-tech, circular agriculture with critical questions. Why this path and not another? What mindset is needed to transition from production to agricultural economics, from traditional farming to smart cultivation, from local trade to global commerce? What culture is required to guide this process to its destination, creating breakthrough economic benefits, social stability, stakeholder harmony, and environmental protection? What methods can foster collaboration, co-creation, and engagement in the challenging yet promising knowledge-based arena of Vietnamese agriculture? And why must ESG, environmental, social, governance principles be integrated into operational platforms? Understanding ESG at its core as true sustainability, beyond mere compliance and measurement. As you open the door to international standards from within to enterprises, serving 3,400 customers across 80 countries, you will uncover the secrets accumulated over 50 years by AgriS and Betrimex. However, we also believe that ESG is not exclusively domain of large corporations, but an opportunity for every Vietnamese enterprise to elevate, integrate, and share value. Journey with us through these pages, and you will discover practical lesson from over 50 years of building ESG as AgriS and Betrimex to specific case studies. How did AgriS become the first Vietnamese enterprise to supply sugar to Nestle in the 2000s? How did we bring Vietnamese sugar to the London and New York commodity exchanges? How did we become the first to achieve Bon Sucre certification, the standard for sustainable sugarcane production, and secure pavements for sustainability performance from Nestle Switzerland? Or how did Betrimex achieve Fair Trade certification, the standard for fair trade, enabling funds to support Bến Tre farmers in building roads, providing organic fertilizer to struggling households, and assisting families with loved ones facing serious illnesses? And how did we earn the respect of leading international research institutes through our story of breeding trichogramma for organic farming, the foundation of our comprehensive ESG integration into strategy? Thus, this book may also be valuable for those asking, how can I establish international standards for my business? How can I participate in global supply chains? How does agriculture address emissions? And how does it contribute to the nation's net zero 2050 goals? Completed in September 2025, a pivotal year marking a new chapter for the nation and over half a century of AgriS and Betrimex's development. This book is our contribution to the process of reflecting on and reshaping Vietnamese agriculture, creating new opportunities for the country. It is also a message to those eager to enter the global arena with the question, where does the winning edge of Vietnamese agriculture lies? My sincere thanks go to all partners, customers, suppliers, shareholders, and stakeholders who have joined us in these invaluable lessons, shaping a shared understanding of sustainable agriculture today. Rephrase. Transitioning from exporting agricultural products to exporting value is an irreversible path. Likewise, shifting from linear organizations, functional thinking, to integrated platforms, ecosystem thinking, is an inevitable journey. The sooner we embark on this path, the faster we integrate, and the greater the opportunities that open up. The right to win for Vietnamese agriculture. agriculture is the backbone of the nation. For Vietnam, agriculture is also a national advantage in negotiating global issues. In international business, there is a concept I deeply admire, right to win, which is not merely an opportunity, but the ability to compete in the market and succeed with above-average advantages. Finding the right to win for Vietnamese agriculture is about securing a path to survival and prosperity for millions of families, and beyond that, for the nation itself. The Vietnamese government has affirmed that the right to win for Vietnamese agriculture lies not in producing more, but in producing smarter, greener, and more sustainably. Since 2013, the Agricultural Restructuring Plan has clearly outlined three pillars: economy, society, and environment. At COP26 in 2021, Vietnam committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2050 and joined the Glasgow Leaders' Declaration on Forests and Land Use. This was followed by a series of policies: the Strategy for Sustainable Agriculture and Rural Development, the Green Growth Strategy, Decision 885 on Organic Agriculture, and Decision 540 to promote science, technology, and the circular economy in agriculture. The goal is to shift from quantity-based growth to quality-based growth, enhancing value through organic certification, traceability, and supporting services. On the international stage, the United Nations and organizations such as ISSB, GRI, SASB, and TCFD are consolidating reporting frameworks to create global ESG language. Over the past 20 years, the ESG frameworks, environmental, social, governance, has been recognized as a tool to quantify the sustainability of organizations and businesses worldwide. In 2023, the European Union, EU, took the lead in institutionalizing the ESG frameworks by enacting the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, effective from January 5, 2023. This directive mandates EU companies, including qualifying EU subsidiaries of non-EU parent companies, to disclose their environmental, social, and governance impacts, as well as how these factors affect their business operation. In Asia, Singapore, Japan, and Indonesia have also rolled out roadmap to adopt ESG in line with international standards. This means that Vietnamese enterprises, particularly those in agricultural exports, face a dual challenge: compliance with domestic policies and the stringent requirements of international markets. Many global capital opportunities have closed for businesses that fail to meet ESG standards. Conversely, those that demonstrate ESG capabilities can access green capital, green bonds, and long-term credit. For agriculture, these requirements are even more rigorous. Consumers in the US and Europe are not only concerned with whether a product is high quality, but also where it comes from, how farmers are treated, and how much carbon is emitted in producing a bottle of coconut water or a bag of sugar. Without transparency and sustainability, even the finest products struggle to find a place in the market. The journey of AgriS and Betrimex. For over 50 years, AgriS and Betrimex have had the privilege of viewing Vietnamese agriculture from two perspectives. From the inside out, the land, water, crops, agri-entrepreneurs, data, operations, legal frameworks, traditions, and culture. From the outside in, the demands, standards, approaches, and barriers of over 3,400 customers across 80 countries served by both companies. AgriS became the first Vietnamese enterprise to achieve Bon Sucre certification and has consistently ranked among the top 20 companies in the VNSI 20 Index for sustainability performance, with an ESG score exceeding 90%, well above the industry average of nearly 70%. AgriS sets a high benchmark. Similarly, Betrimex became Vietnam's first enterprise to earn the Fair Trade certification, meeting one of the world's most rigorous sustainability standards in agriculture. Starting as a domestic sugarcane company, it took AgriS 7 years to prepare for listing Vietnamese sugar on the London and New York commodity exchanges in 2021. Those 7 years were not just about securing a sugar supply, but about building from the ground up, designing farms, standardizing documentation, optimizing logistics, implementing ERP system, achieving Bon Sucre compliance, adopting international accounting standards, IFRS, ensuring data transparency, and establishing commercial credibility. Production soared from 300,000 tons of sugar to 1.2 million tons, a fourfold increase, while labor productivity multiplied. Beyond higher yields and optimized costs, the greatest value lay in building systemic discipline and organizational resilience. What began as a linear relationship between two houses, agri-entrepreneurs and enterprises, evolved into a value chain where 5 houses, the state, banks, enterprises, scientists, and agri-entrepreneurs collaborate dynamically. As a result, many agri-entrepreneurs in Tây Ninh and Gia Lai expanded their land, invested in infrastructure, and shifted from farming to survive to farming to thrive. In 2022, AgriS became the first Vietnamese enterprise to invest in a farm in Australia. Operating within a nation renowned for its advanced agriculture, we gained invaluable insights into agronomy, farm management, and international standard R&D. These lessons were applied to our model farm in Thanh Long, Tây Ninh, the first agricultural sandbox in Vietnam. We believe that for Vietnam to truly secure its right to win in agriculture, we must move beyond a pure production-oriented mindset and become a comprehensive provider of agricultural solutions. This is why AgriS has shifted its model from a traditional producer to an agri-solutions provider, with the 2025-2030 strategy focused on modernizing and digitizing agriculture on an ESG and data-driven foundation. Our overarching goal is clear: build a centralized data system covering 80% of the industry, creating an open agricultural data platform for Vietnam, push crop productivity and quality by 15 to 20% through digital technology, artificial intelligence AI, and precision farming. To achieve this, 3 key action priorities are implemented across the board. Number 1. Digital transformation of the entire value chain to ensure transparency and efficiency. Number 2. Integration of smart and circular agriculture model to minimize waste in materials, energy, and data. Number 3. Execution of ESG as a core operating standard, linking community benefits with business growth, laying the groundwork for deeper integration into global supply chains, and elevating the industry's position. We recognize that the future of Vietnamese agriculture cannot rely solely on productivity. It must be built on the ability to organize a circular ecosystem where AgTech, FoodTech, and FinTech coverage to create transparent, fair, and efficient value chains. With AgTech, we develop smart farming models for real-time management of nutrition, water, energy, and emissions. With FoodTech, we invest in deep processing, traceability, and export value enhancement while reducing post-harvest losses. With FinTech, we build a digital agricultural finance platform, enabling farmers to access green credit, cashless payments, and future carbon credit markets. A global readiness competency framework and key lessons from Harvard. I entered the agricultural sector at a young age. In my 20s, I joined meeting of the Vietnam Sugarcane Association alongside seasoned industry leaders. By my 30s, I attended global forums like London Sugar and New York Sugar, where century-old enterprises dominated. Back then, Vietnam has seen as a second-tier player. Our sugar output were under 1 million tons for a population of nearly 100 million, while Thailand produced over 10 million tons with half that population. On the global stage, Vietnamese sugar were only mentioned when quotas were short. This sparked a question: where's the right to win, the winning edge for Vietnamese agriculture? How do we transform from a second-tier player to a global leader? Nearly a decade later, AgriS evolved from sugar company into an agriculture solution ecosystem, offering comprehensive solutions for crops like sugarcane, coconut, banana, pineapple, rice, plant-based milk, beverages, confectionery, and hundreds of new products. Our goal: 60,000 billion Vietnam dong in revenue by 2030, capturing the 600 million strong Asian market and deepening our role in the global food supply chain. Moving beyond traditional management, we built a technology platform with 3 core hubs: the Agriculture Center, AgriC, Production Center, ProC, and Commercial Center, ComC, all operating on a unified data system. AgriS no longer just sells products, it delivers value chain management models. Unlike many who grew up rooted in agriculture, I entered the industry through finance, starting with Vietnam's earliest mergers and acquisitions, M&A. From the dry lands of due diligence, I shifted from reading numbers to understanding people, land, and crops. I realized that Vietnamese agri-entrepreneurs are skilled and resilient but lack a system to transform their efforts into sustainable commercial value. Agriculture, the lifeline for nearly 100 million people and Vietnam's short passport in global climate, environmental, and food security negotiations, has yet to be fully recognized on the world stage. We have products, people, and land, but we lack a robust framework to compete in the global arena. The greatest challenge for Vietnamese agriculture is not productivity, but waste. Wasted fertilizers, poorly designed cultivation, and the biggest waste of all, producing without a clear market plan. Agri-entrepreneurs are often forced to sell cheaply to middlemen due to a lack of foresight. The root of this waste lies in the absence of a comprehensive planning system. In developed nations, R&D anticipates every scenario before production begins. In Vietnam, we often act first, learn later, costing us both time and value. Vietnamese agriculture has always been inherently green, rooted in environmentally friendly foundations. However, to achieve true sustainability and access green capital to overcome barriers in enhancing agricultural value, we must take a further step toward cleanliness, clean products, clean processes, and clean governance practices. International financial institutions, when allocating green capital, rigorously assess compliance with global standards. Funds must reach the right people, support the right initiatives, produce the right products, and align with emission reduction goals. Hesitating to pursue green capital due to technical jargon and complex procedures mean denying ourselves to change to improve our businesses and products, ultimately limiting the global reach of Vietnamese agriculture. I always believe Vietnam excels at doing, but doing well alone isn't enough for the long haul. We lack standardized systems and robust governance capabilities. For me, ESG, environmental, social, governance cannot be reduced to mere reporting. ESG must function as an operating system, measurable, digitized, verifiable, and most crucially, tightly linked to the benefits of agri-entrepreneurs, factories, and markets. If confined to short-term actions, ESG will quickly fade. Consider the coconut tree as a metaphor for our approach. The coconut tree embodies zero waste. From the moment it sprouts to the end of its life cycle, every part, water, flesh, husk, fiber, leaves, core dust holds value. The coconut tree proves that waste doesn't exist in nature, only cycles of value creation. This philosophy guides AgriS and Betrimex. We waste no resource, transforming what might seem like byproducts into new sources of value. From the modest tens of thousands of liters of coconut water, Betrimex reached 110 million liters in under 6 years and aimed for 300 billion by 2030. A single coconut now yields nearly 100 products: water, milk, cream, oil, sugar, candy, jelly, fiber, coir dust, clean soil, mats, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and more. This success stems from our high-tech, fully circular, zero-waste agriculture model. To me, high-tech agriculture begins with something simple: precise farming for maximum efficiency. It means doing things right to eliminate waste, fertilizing at the right time, irrigating correctly, designing farms from the outset, and planning commercialization before planting, rather than scrambling for markets post-harvest. Without getting the fundamentals right, calling it high-tech is meaningless. We often speak of competitive advantage when discussing Vietnamese agriculture, but I prefer the term right to win over competitive advantage because advantages can fade, while a right to win is a prerequisite. Without an open door, we cannot enter the global arena. Once the door is open, victory depends on how we play, on our organizational capabilities and strategies. But if the door remains closed, we will be confined to the domestic market, unable to step onto the world stage. In my view, the right to win for Vietnamese agriculture lies in our ability to organize and operate an international standard framework built on three pillars: governance, adhering to global management standards; science, advancing agronomy and precision farming; and platform, creating a transparent, real-time data sharing ecosystem. The prerequisite for all this is ESG, integrating environmental, social, and governance principles into the organization's operating system to communicate with the world in the universal language of sustainability. The time has come for Vietnam to engage globally, not just with agricultural products, but with robust governance, transparent data, shared platforms, and circular economy. The right to win is a concrete framework. Tailored strategies require specialized teams, and specific markets demand targeted expertise. To me, sustainability is not one-dimensional. We cannot exploit the land without giving back to it. We cannot demand from agri-entrepreneurs without empowering them. We cannot rely on banks without sharing benefits. True sustainability is multidimensional, reciprocal, and collaborative. Only then can agriculture break free from short-term cycles and achieve lasting impact. I recall a formative experience at Harvard. In a class of 158 students, mostly business owners with minimum revenues of $400 million, peers pitched ideas involving artificial intelligence, tokens, and cutting-edge technologies to raise capital. I stood up with a similar question: how long would it take each of you to decide to spend $1,000? The answers: a few minutes. So, why not each contribute $10,000 right then? The result, $1.58 million were raised on the spot. The lesson from Harvard were clear. Don't be paralyzed by chasing a massive goal. Instead, break risks into smaller steps, share the vision, and rally collective action. The same applies to global commerce. The right to win doesn't come from a single leap, but from designing manageable steps that partners can embrace and enjoy. There's also a lesson in ecosystem collaboration, a prerequisite for transforming Vietnamese agriculture into a global hub for agricultural innovation. Đặng Huynh Uc My, Omi Đặng, Chair Lady, AgriS and Betrimex. Introduction: Green Finance and CSV, two pillars to rebrand Vietnamese agriculture. I have chosen to open this book with two critical lenses for agriculture: green finance and creating shared values, CSV. To me, these are the clearest mirrors reflecting our true potential and the keys to unlocking Vietnam's place on the global stage. Green finance, or green capital in Vietnam, is often seen simply as preferential loans with slightly lower interest rates. The difference seems modest, 0.1 to 0.5% annually for typical green credit, or 0.7 to 1.5% for green bonds and international standards. The numbers may appear small, but over 10 to 10 years, they lay a transformative foundation. It's not just about cutting borrowing costs. It's about elevating our entire management capacity. The essence of green capital isn't the interest rate. It's a behavior filter. It demands transparency in data, emission tracking, process improvements, and operational discipline. Without passing this filter, long-term success remains our breach. The green capital market is wide open, both domestically and internationally. Yet, few businesses tap into it, and most stumble at the governance hurdle. Green capital isn't for tax balance, tricks. It's for companies that master their actions. Assessing it requires more than a business plan. It demands 3 layers of data: past, proving the foundation; present, showing standardized processes; and future, outlining a clear improvement roadmap with specific targets. Equally critical, international financial institutions scrutinize R&D capabilities in agriculture, focusing on seed quality, yield, precision farming, zero weight by-product chains, and innovative processing methods. In short, green capital is a natural lever for science and innovation. The formula, to me, is clear: green products plus green behavior equal green outcomes. Green products are the tangible results: organic coconut waters bottles or Bonsucro certified sugar bags. Green behavior is the tougher part: organizing transparent data, maintaining stable processes, and adhering to international standards. When green behavior becomes a management strength, green outcomes emerge, and green capital follows. Ultimately, green finance is a catalyst pushing Vietnamese agriculture to grow more professional, scientific, transparent, and robust. Alongside green capital, the CSV framework proposed by Michael Porter and Mark Grammer in 2011 has become a cornerstone of modern sustainable development thinking. Unlike CSR, which focuses on sharing profits for good deeds, CSV reimagines business models to simultaneously generate economic and socio-environmental value. This framework highlights three main avenues for creating shared value: redefining products and markets, rethinking productivity in the value chain, and fostering local industry clusters. These are the bridges connecting businesses to communities, profits to sustainability. AgriS has applied CSV mindset to reposition the sugarcane industry. We have transformed sugarcane from traditional crop into an ecosystem of over 100 products, expanding from sugar to nutrition solutions, energy, and green materials. Sugar is no longer just a commodity. It's been upgraded to nutrition-rich products meeting post-agro and organic standards, boosting market value while addressing global demand for green consumption. Within the value chain, AgriS has integrated high-tech and circular practices, regenerative agriculture, from GPS-guided farming and 2.5 centimeter precise automatic harvesters to soil restoration and ending can leaf burning, capturing carbon dioxide from emission to purify sugarcane juice and repurposing bagasse for electricity, fertilizer, and plywood. This approach cuts costs, reduces emissions, and maximizes resource efficiency. Simultaneously, AgriS prioritizes local industry cluster. Model farms, demo farms serve as sandboxes, training grounds where farmers test new methods hands-on. The FRM, Farmer Relationship Management platform, links farmers with banks and businesses, tackling capital, technical, and market bottlenecks. This has stabilized agricultural ecosystem in regions like Tây Ninh and Gia Lai, fostering sustainable livelihoods. For Betrimex, CSV maximizes coconut value and builds livelihood for tens of thousands of winter farmers. Instead of focusing solely on coconut water or meat, we have turned the coconut into a comprehensive value chain, utilizing water, meat, fiber, cells, strains, eliminated the concept of waste. Branded products like Cucusim and Betrimex's OEM, ODM offerings reach over 80 countries, backed by more than 27 international certifications: organic, halal, kosher, US FDA, non-GMO, Rainforest Alliance, etc., elevating Vietnamese coconuts to a new global standing. Within the value chain, Betrimex has integrated over 15,000 hectares of organic coconut and 13,000 farmer households into sustainable farming networks, using organic fertilizer and boosting incomes. On the cluster front, Betrimex has made strides in biodiversity conservation, soil improvement, and long-term farmer income security, investing in 33 coconut cell processing units and creating thousands of local jobs, especially for women. As a result, Bến Tre remains Vietnam's coconut hub while emerging as a global organic coconuts cluster, attracting supporting businesses and export services. The standout commonality in AgriS and Betrimex's CSV practice is tackling the dual challenge of livelihoods and the environment, lifting farmers out of poverty while cutting emissions and preserving resources, innovating business models beyond raw material production to full value chain solutions, achieving international certifications like Bon Sucro, Fair Trade, Organic, and exceeding ESG compliance thresholds has deepened our penetration into demanding markets like the Europe and the United States. Globally, CSV and ESG complement each other. CSV restructures business models to create shared value, while ESG provides the governance and measurement framework to ensure that value is transparent, consistent, and aligned with the Net Zero 2025 trajectory. Through CSV thinking, AgriS and Betrimex have crafted a new business model where every ton of sugarcane and every coconut yields profit, reduces carbon, keeps farmers tied to the land, and places Vietnam on the global agricultural map. CSV enable businesses to create shared value, grounded in ESG governance that ensures those values are measured transparently and upheld consistently. Whereas green capital is the necessary condition for investing in R&D and innovation, CSV accomplishments are the sufficient condition to prove that business models can be effective, sustainable, and drive multidimensional social progress. Both are measured and validated through the ESG frameworks, and ESG measurement, in turn, pushes green capital access while amplifying CSV achievements. One provides resources, the other offers a method. One is a framework. Together, they pave the way to rethink the sustainable momentum of Vietnamese agriculture. This book is thus divided into 4 seamless parts, inviting us to piece together the past, present, and future. Part 1. Foundations and Root Challenges reflects on Vietnam's agricultural journey in globalization, its achievements, lingering paradoxes, especially the biggest challenge, waits, and explores potential breakthrough through a circular agricultural value chain, regenerative agriculture. Part 2. Core capabilities for sustainable transformation. From agronomy as a guiding compass to the 3F frameworks: farm design, farm care, farm service. Evidence-based R&D via demo farms, agricultural sandboxes, and technology that makes data speak, alongside peer-to-peer international trade, organic farming, and achieving global sustainability certifications, Bon Sucro, Fair Trade. Part 3. The ESG Operating System, the heart of the book, where ESG transcends reporting to become the operating system for the entire value chain, where AgriS and Betrimex shift from selling products to delivering solutions, building a multidimensional platform for stakeholders to share data and benefit, CSV. Part 4. A Sustainable Future, the ESG and Net Zero 2035 Roadmap. A broader lens on commitments to net zero, climate risk management, transparency culture, and responsibilities, exploring how agriculture can lead the national net zero goal. After these 4 parts, you will likely be able to join us in answering a pivotal question. Can Vietnam fulfill its net zero 2050 commitment? And can we become a global hub for agricultural innovation? And if so, why and on what foundations? Part 1. Foundations and Root Challenges. Every sustainable journey begins with an honest examination of its foundations. For Vietnamese agriculture, these foundations offer both advantages and deep-rooted challenges. Over 4 decades of reform, Vietnamese agricultural products have reached more than 180 countries, with several sectors achieving billion-dollar export revenues and transforming the lives of millions of agri-entrepreneurs. Yet, alongside these achievements lies persistent paradoxes: high production volumes but low value addition, expansive markets but recurring needs for crop rescues, and deep integration yet a lack of equal standing on the global stage. Part 1 invites readers to confront this reality. The path of Vietnamese agriculture in globalization, its triumphs, its contradictions, and the critical bottlenecks that must be addressed for long-term progress. Through specific stories, a cup of coffee in New York, a sugarcane field in Habong, a coconut grow in Bến Tre, and systemic analysis of production, trade, and value chains, this section serves as a diagnosis. Where do we stand? Why are we stuck? And where does the journey toward sustainability begin? In this part, we reflect on the path AgriS and Betrimex have traveled, guided by a bold vision, comprehensive sustainability, and circularity. Readers will meet the agri-entrepreneurs of AgriS and Betrimex, gaining insight into their choices and the internal decisions driving both companies. You will also trace the evolution of Vietnam's sugarcane and coconut industries over the past 30 years, exploring the forces that help shape the foundation of these two companies as they engage in the global supply chain, innovation in product development, R&D, and quality assurance, QA/QC, advancements in agronomy and crop solutions, and pioneering approaches to organic production and circularity aimed at zero waste. Intriguingly, readers will discover why AgriS became a strategic partner of Nestle and how Betrimex transformed the Vietnamese coconut industry, shifting from raw production to deep processing and international supply. You will also uncover the profound internal drivers behind the innovations that help define AgriS and Betrimex across their development phases, as well as the most critical foundation for a high-tech agricultural economy model. The following 2 chapters unfold this narrative. Chapter 1, The Path of Vietnamese Agriculture. Chapter 2, The Foundations of High-Tech Agriculture. Chapter 1, The Path of Vietnamese Agriculture. Some people cancel their contracts, sell to others, then come back to Betrimex. But not me. Never. I always think of the company too. If they suffer, We farmers suffer too. In the end, everyone loses. So, better to keep our bond and work a long road together. According to Mr. Phạm Văn Trà, Hưng Nhượng, Vĩnh Long Province. A morning in Huynh Uc, a coffee in New York, and the story of a sugarcane farmer in Hebong sending his child to a gifted school. At dawn, in Huynh Uc Commune, Vĩnh Long Province, formerly Hương Lê Commune, Dòng Trôm District, Bến Tre Province, Phạm Văn Trà works through his coconut grove with his wife and child. Over 1.5 hectares, about 15 kong, as the local measure, inherited partly from his parents and expanded over time, now provide the family's main source of income. If once his livelihood were uncertain, things changed dramatically when he joined Betrimex's organic raw material program. Productivity reached 150 coconuts per kong. Fertilizer and pesticide costs were halved, and his monthly income stabilized at more than 40 million Vietnam dong, thanks to higher selling prices. In his well-kept home, Trà carefully preserves stacks of receipts showing his coconut sold for 70,000 to 80,000 Vietnam dong per dozen. Trail nuts nearly double the 30,000 to 40,000 Vietnam dong earned by farmers in neighboring communes. Meanwhile, half a world away in Starbucks in New York, a barista pours syrup into frappuccino. The sugar inside the syrup is the products of Vietnamese agricultural value chain. One represented by Đinh Văn Tạ, an agri-entrepreneur in Hebong Commune, Gia Lai Province, before 2011. Ta's family grow corn and cassava, crops vulnerable to weather, with unstable markets and profits of only 8 to 12 million Vietnam dong per hectare. In 2011, he decided to try sugarcane on 3 hectares of parched soil. His reasoning was simple. Sugarcane can regenerate for 5 to 6 years without replanting, saving labor and costs. By 2016, with technical support from AgriS mechanization, trenching, and drip irrigation, yields improved markedly. Even in the 6th and 7th harvests, his fields produce 65 to 70 tons per hectare, far above traditional methods. Initial investment costs around 30 to 40 million Vietnam dong per hectare, but thanks to the long-term retune cycles and efficient irrigation, annual costs fell sharply. Switching from corn and cassava to sugarcane tripled his profits, reaching 35 to 40 million Vietnam dong per hectare per years after expenses. By 2025, Mr. Ta has expanded to 65 hectares, partly owned, partly leased, ensuring a steady income for his family. The cornerstone of this journey were his partnership with AgriS. Since 2011, AgriS has guaranteed purchase of own sugarcane in Hebong. In 2014, encouraged by AgriS technicians, Mr. Ta boldly took out a loan to buy 640 million Vietnam dong tractor. The company allowed him to pay in sugarcane over 3 years, interest-free. After that first machine, he acquired a trench digger to both serve his own fields and assist neighboring farmers. When fertilizer prices fluctuated sharply, AgriS introduced a special policy providing fertilizer at cost without interest for tax familiar loan that support amounted to hundreds of millions of Vietnam dong each year. Beyond mechanization and drip irrigation, Mr. Ta was among the first to adopt solar power for irrigation. An array of 18 panels could power a well covering 6 hectares, saving electricity, mitigating the risk of rising fuel prices. Years ago, only 5 to 7% of households in a bond could dream of sending a child to university or of owning a proper house to shelter from sun and rain. But over the past decade, this land has been transformed. Education, once a heavy burden that pushed many parents to migrate to Saigon or Bình Dương as factory workers, is now within reach at home. With stable income from sugarcane, families can afford to send their children to college. Now 70 to 80% of households can do so. Rural infrastructure has also improved. Roads, street lights, and schools are on better, thanks to the prosperity that sugarcane brought. For Ta's family, the change is most evident in his eldest son, now a student at a specialized boarding school in Pleiku, something Mr. Ta once dared not even imagine. The coconut groves of Huynh Uc and the sugarcane fields of Tây Ninh are now directly linked to a dining tables around the world. A box of biscuits in berry may contain a desiccated coconut from Betrimex, or cups of milk tea in Taipei may be sweetened with liquid sugar from AgriS. Farmers in Bến Tre or Tây Ninh may never have stepped beyond their commune, yet their products has traveled across continents. This is the image of globalized hand, a metaphor for the value change that AgriS and Betrimex are building, from farmers to enterprises to markets to communities and back again to the farmers who make it all possible. Reflecting on Vietnam's agricultural achievements and its remaining bottlenecks. Half a century ago, the generation before us began rebuilding Vietnam's agriculture from the ashes of hardship and scarcity. Crop yields were low. Rice produced just over 2 tons per hectare, sugarcane around 38 tons. Most cultivation relies on manual labor. Agricultural research and technical know-how were limited. For many years, the country lacked sufficient rice. In some years, Vietnam even had to import over 1 million tons of food. Sugar, confectionery, and milk were considered luxuries. The few agricultural exports that existed, tea, rubber, coffee, earned less than $100 million annually between 1975 and 1986. Today, the picture could not be more different. By 2024, Vietnam ranked 15th globally in agri-food exports, reaching $62.5 billion, up to 80% from 2023, and more than double that of 2015. Rice production set the record at 9.18 million tons, earning $5.75 billion. Coconut surpassed the $1 billion mark. Coffee exports reached 1.32 million tons, valued as $5.48 billion US. Over 200 countries and territories now consume Vietnamese food products, from An Giang and Đồng Tháp rice to Gia Lai and Đắk Lắk coffee to Trà Vinh and Bến Tre coconut milk and sugar from Tây Ninh and Gia Lai. All now found on the shelves of Walmart and Tesco. From rudimentary cultivation, Vietnam is moving toward a diversified agricultural economy with several sectors entering deeper processing. Yet, in a global context, Vietnam still has much to improve. The Netherlands, with only 2.2 million hectares of farmland, 12 times smaller than Vietnam, remains the world's second largest agri-food exporter, earning $151 billion in 2024. The Dutch model of precision farming, which includes greenhouse systems, recycles nearly all water and nutrients, is proof that when natural resources are limited, technology and research become the keys to unlocking agricultural value. By comparison, according to the Economist Group's 2022 Food Sustainability Index, Vietnam remains in the upper mid-range, ranked 46 out of 113 countries, 53rd in food quality and safety, and only 68th position in sustainable agriculture, signaling underinvestment in R&D and limited adaptive capacity to climate change. These figures reveal a clear gap. Vietnam is advancing quickly, yet still lags far behind the global pioneers. By 2025, only a small portion of its agricultural products participate in sustainable value chains. Many sectors remain fragmented, and international certifications such as Bonsucro, Global Gap, Organic, or Rainforest Alliance are still scattered and rare. Farmers often lack tools, data, capital, and an enabling ecosystem for meaningful transformation. A large share of exports remain in raw form, leaving livelihoods vulnerable to the age-old cycle of bumper crop falling prices. For decades, Vietnamese agriculture has revolved around a three-tier loop: farmer, trader, factory. The farmer grows sugarcane, the trader buys it, the factory processes it. Prices fluctuate with the market, and the farmer is almost always the first to bear the loss. In Tây Ninh, there were years when sugarcane prices dropped so low that farmers couldn't even afford fertilizer. Each harvest was a gamble. When yields were high, prices fell. When prices rose, crops fell. In Bến Tre, coconuts once sold for only 20,000 to 30,000 Vietnam dong per dozen, barely enough to cover daily expenses after a year of tending. The farmers pin their hopes on each coconut punch, only to find at harvest that the yield is barely enough to get them through the day. Many farmers cut down their coconut trees and abandoned sugarcane to seek other livelihoods. This model led to a chain of consequences: low and unstable incomes, soil degradation due to overuse of chemical fertilizer, and pesticides, young people leaving rural areas for cities, creating labor shortages, agricultural products exported mostly in raw form, with little brand recognition on the global map. Sugarcane, once known as the hunger-saving drop, now ranks 8 in cultivation area nationwide and 4 among industrial crops. Yet, its growers remain poor. Likewise, Vietnam's coconut, 7th in global planting area and 4th in production, are an emblem of poetic lands of coconuts celebrated in literature. Yet, coconut farmers still struggle to make ends meet. Within this cycle, few imagined that sugarcane and coconut could ever appear in American or European supermarkets as premium branded Vietnamese products. Please refer to Table 1, Estimated Cultivation Areas of Vietnam's Major Crops, and Figure 2, Vietnam's sugarcane production from 1990 to 2023, available in the app's attachment. For AgriS, sustainability is not about compliance. It's our very essence. If we see it merely as a rule to follow, we will never go far. Only when we treat sustainability as the air we breathe can it become a lasting path forward. Sugarcane, the global commercial crop. Sugarcane has been intertwined with intercontinental trade since ancient times. Around 8,000 before Common Era, humans first domesticated sugarcane in New Guinea. Between the 12th and the 10th centuries before Common Era, through maritime trade route, sugarcane took root in China, Southeast Asia, and India. By around 100 Common Era, the first traces of sugar making appeared around the Mediterranean. From there, plantations and sugar mills spread across Europe, following explorers and crusaders, and later crossed oceans to the Americas and Oceania. A few hundred years ago, sugar was as precious as gold, expensive to produce, and labor-intensive. Today, canned sugar has become an everyday commodity, accounting for roughly 60% of global sugar output, a familiar ingredient and energy source in every kitchen. In Vietnam, the sugarcane industry truly began when the French built the Biên Hòa Sugar Factory in 1870 to supply sugar back to France. After reunification, the government invested in large factories and reorganized the sector, but efficiency remained low. In 1986, with Vietnam's shift to a market economy, sugarcane were returned to its commercial nature. Orders and partnerships between mills and farmers gradually formed. Raw material zones were strengthened and yields began to rise. Trials in hybrid varieties show improvement. Contract farming and infrastructure also emerged. Yes, challenges in cultivation persisted. Vietnam still lacked sugar and had to import annually from Thailand. To address this, the government launched the 1 million tons of sugar program from 1994 to 2000. However, the initiative soon exposed its flaws. Raw material zones could not keep pace with 44 new factories. Cane varieties lacked uniformity. Mechanization was low. Farmer enterprise linkage remained weak. Production costs were high and competitiveness low. Over the past 2 decades, the sugarcane crop has ridden waves of ups and downs. Cultivation area has steadily declined, especially since 2017 to 2018. In 2018, sugarcane covered more than 269,000 hectares, but by 2021, the figure had fallen to just over 165,000. When prices rose, farmers wrote to plant more. A few seasons later, imports, pests, and falling yields sent prices tumbling again, prompting many to abandon sugarcane for other crops. Since 2021, after Vietnam imposed trade defense measures against imported sugar, the domestic sugarcane industry has begun to recover. Grain fields are returning, with cultivation area reaching about 185,000 hectares by late 2024. Every stage, soil preparation, crop care, and harvest is gradually shifting to mechanization, drip irrigation, and digital transformation to boost efficiency. In the 2023-2024 season, Vietnam harvested over 11 million tons of sugarcane, producing more than 1.1 million tons of sugar, placing its yield among the highest in the region. A new chapter of opportunity is unfolding. Trade, the bottleneck of the thrall. I grew up in a business family and studied management and finance, so I have always viewed sugarcane through the lens of efficiency and value creation. When I graduated and returned home to accompany my mother in factory merger negotiations, a string of questions kept haunting me. How can we unlock the full potential of sugarcane beyond refined sugar and molasses? How can we export high-value finished products instead of raw materials? How can we turn natural advantages into economic advantages? And most importantly, how can we ensure better life for our farmers? As the saying goes, a hungry belly has no ears. Creating economic value and increasing agricultural value are the foundations of sustainable development. Vietnam has natural advantages in soil and tropical monsoon climate, a strategic trading location, and deep participation in free trade agreements. We export rice, coffee, tea, and coconuts. Yes, the value we gain remains modest. Vietnamese rice often sells for significantly less than Thai rice. Our Robusta coffee accounts for over 40% of the global market, but most is exported raw, leaving the profits to foreign processors and distributors. The diligence of farmers alone cannot solve this. It must be approached as a strategic economic challenge to plan trade systematically as a lever for building a closed value chain, advancing deep processing, improving quality, and positioning Vietnamese agricultural products in higher value segments where price is defined by quality, brand, and sustainability standards. On the global stage, we are not the only shop in town. Thailand is a model of modern sugar industry development, producing over 10 million tons for 50 million people, whereas Vietnam produces only about 1 million tons annually for a population of 100 million. On the surface, the reason is clear. Thailand has 1.7 to 1.8 million hectares of sugarcane, nearly 10 times Vietnam's area. But beneath that is their superior capability in large-scale field organization, drought and pest-resistant varieties, cultivation techniques, and financial mechanisms to support farmers. The feeling of being outmatched is real, and it must be faced head-on to become a driving force for breakthrough. In trade, when two suppliers make the same offer, opportunities are only shared equally if we can show customers that Vietnamese products match our competitor in quality and consistency. To achieve that, beyond production, we must prove our capacity for supply, for value creation, and for positioning our products to international standards, right at the decision-making centers of global trade and capital flow. Choosing Singapore to set sail for the open sea. In 2011, AgriS packed its bags and opened trading hub in Singapore, a global gateway for commerce, logistics, and capital markets. Though small in domestic consumption, Singapore is a major transshipment port and a trade exchange connecting hundreds of markets. Entering Singapore was never about targeting its 5 million consumers. It was about positioning AgriS within the global current of trade. From this strategic base, we upgraded our entire system, finance, logistics, legal frameworks, and trade standards, leveraging the resources of this ecosystem to join the international playing field. From its Singapore hub, AgriS spent 7 years persistently learning, standardizing governance and data system to meet the conditions for entering the world's major commodity exchanges in London and New York. Starting from the 2019 to 2020 season, AgriS Sugar was officially listed on the London Exchange. By the 2024 to 2025 season, total traded volume exceeded 1.5 million tons, including both raw and refined sugar. The Singapore Center has since expanded with 4 additional branches in Indonesia, Australia, and China, ready to seize new opportunities. Stepping into developed markets require companies to grow in proportion. The first lesson we learned upon sailing out to the sea was to value ourselves accurately, not to underestimate our quality compared with Thailand or Brazil. The key is not merely whether the product is good, but whether it is sold through the right channels, in the right markets, to the right buyers. When that alignment is found, Vietnamese products can command the value they truly deserve. AgriS enter the global market with that very belief. Unlocking the pricing bottleneck through science and precision farming. The greatest challenge in product pricing and in convincing discerning customers to choose you among countless suppliers at varying price points lies in proving that your entire production process meets international standards, and that every single grain of sugar is fully traceable to its source. To achieve this, following the path of advanced agricultural nations, AgriS had turned to agriculture science and precision farming. AgriS defines the goal of precision farming as farming right. Once farming is done right, farmers' productivity and efficiency naturally increase, product quality improves, and with that, value rises. But the prerequisite for farmer right is that every step of cultivation must be recorded on a unified platform so that the product can be developed along the value chain, enabling deep processing and international market trading. This forms an essential change of a high-tech agricultural economy. The more we pursue the idea of farming right, the more we realize we couldn't look at individual fields in isolation. The realization marked a shift in our thinking from place-based agriculture and linear business models, pipeline from production to processing to trade, to platform-based agribusiness with integrated resources inside and outside the system. This becomes the core philosophy behind AgriS's high-tech agricultural ecosystem. Of course, agriculture is inherently place-based. Each cultivation area has unique soil, climate, and cultural conditions, along with its own challenges in infrastructure and available resources, factors that shape each field's characteristics and determine local socio-economic outcomes. Sometimes, two farmers growing sugarcane on neighboring plots end up with vastly different results simply because they choose different variety or fertilizers. But when its farming area operated like an island, disconnected and isolated, collective strength is lost. Without shared information and knowledge, data remains fragmented. Without recording system, traceability becomes difficult, and product value ends up depending heavily on traders' subjective assessments, who may use data from one region to undercut prices in another. In this way, agriculture remains stuck in small and scattered plots. A platform mindset doesn't replace farmers' field wisdom or the unique traits of each region. It systematizes how information is gathered and distilled into shared data. That data becomes a knowledge library, a living environment for continuous learning and innovation. The more farmers and fields that join the platform, the richer the collective intelligence becomes. With machine learning applied, AI tools can assist in crop planning, cultivation processes, yield optimization, and pest or disease risk forecasting, so that human intervention is only needed when necessary. Once farm diaries are standardized and implemented platform-wide, they can record and trace every stage from cultivation or harvesting to transport and distribution. When commercial partners join the platform, they no longer buy from single region, but access multiple regions as one, on offering standardized product quality. Thanks to its open architecture, the agricultural platform allows farmers to move from fragmented cultivation toward more efficient information and service system. It also enables easier experimentation with new technologies and shortens the cycle from testing and correcting to improvement and large-scale deployment. Today, AgriS and Betrimex are operating on this very platform-based philosophy. AgriS has connected thousands of sugarcane farming households through a unified data platform, documenting every production stage and verifying product quality to international standards. This marks a transformation from doing well in one place to connecting every place, creating the scale, momentum, and competitiveness needed to drive globally. AgriS and Betrimex's journey of inside out and outside in. One morning, in a Walmart store in California, a box of Coco Sim coconut water from Bến Tre sits neatly on the natural and organic shelf, dried beside products from Thailand, the Philippines, and Brazil. In carrefour Paris and supermarkets across Germany, organic sugar bags from Thailand stand proudly among long-established international brands. European and American consumers are enjoying Vietnamese products, the result of a partnership between tens of thousands of farmers and two Vietnamese enterprises that chose the hardest path, not competing on price but on quality, international governance standards, and ESG commitment. Our approach combines inside out and outside in. From the inside, we start with the local resources: sugarcane from Tây Ninh, coconuts from Bến Tre, pineapples and banana from Gia Lai. But instead of exporting raw materials, we reorganize the value chain to generate sustainable added value. From the outside, we adopt international standards from Bonsucro, Fairtrade, and organic certifications to IFRS and Asian scorecard, and embed them into our operations. This harmony allows us to preserve its region's identity and strengths while integrating seamlessly with the global market. Since 2017, when BHS stands for Biên Hòa Sugar, merged with TTC Sugar to form SBT, TTC AgriS, we began applying the GRI sustainability standards to our reporting, articulating our sustainable advantages in the global language. Initially, our metrics focused only on basic environmental and social indicators, but from 2019 onward, we expanded to disclose the full governance dimension, the G that forms the foundation of ESG. When applying the Asian scorecard, we increased the proportion of independent board members from 1/5, as required by Vietnamese law, to 1/3. Thanks to that, AgriS has continuously remained in the VNSI 20 index, ranking among the 20 companies with the highest sustainability scores in the market. Our ESG score now exceeds 90%, significantly higher than the industry Vietnam's average of around 70%. These achievements has opened the flow of green capital from institutions such as the German Investment Corporation DEG, under KfW, UOB Singapore, and various European funds. DEG not only became an equity investor, but also provided non-refundable funding for the Trichogramma project, a special initiative you will read more about in Chapter 2. Amid domestic capital market challenges, we successfully issued green bonds precisely because ESG has become a shared language in global negotiations. At the same time, we restructure our operational infrastructure from DG farm on the fields to DG factory in the plants, from ERP systems aligned with IFRS to Zero Trust data security model. In 2022, AgriS invested in a farm in Australia to learn from its transparency system, from soil to logistics. In 2023, we established a demo farm in Cambodia, following the sandbox model, a harsh agricultural environment to test the limits of sustainable farming. By 2024, our model farm in Tây Ninh has evolved into a learning hub where governments, bodies, banks, research institutes, and enterprises converge, turning the demo farm into a center for agronomy, cultivation science, technology, finance, and cultural diplomacy. Sugarcane is a treasure trove. If managed properly, nothing goes to waste. Cane leaves can be left at mulch or composted for fertilizer. Bagasse becomes a biomass fuel for boilers and power generation. Boiler ash and filter cake return to the fields as organic fertilizer. Cane juice beyond sugar can be used to produce bioethanol, a cleaner, lower emission alternative to fossil fuels. And sugar itself is more than white crystals. The market demands organic sugar, powdered sugar, liquid sugar, and various F&B derivatives. These are not new ideas to the industry, but realizing them at scale requires real pioneering, something AgriS is determined to do. Today, AgriS holds 46% of Vietnam's domestic sugar market and serves as a strategic supplier to Nestlé Vietnam. We not only produce nearly 90 types of sugar, but also develop over 30 other sugarcane-based products, from biomass power and organic fertilizer to bioplastic materials. From the coconut capital of Bến Tre, Betrimex has brought hundreds of products to over 80 countries, pioneering extended producer responsibility (EPR) with circular packaging solutions. If AgriS is building the data nervous system for the sugar industry, Betrimex proved that a Vietnamese agricultural products can go straight into the most demanding natural and organic segment worldwide. In the 2023-2024 fiscal year, our biomass electricity output integrated into national grid reached 144 million kilowatt hours, a significant figure for the industry. That same year, we produced 2.6 million liters of canned fresh drinking water, a lightly sweet beverage made from condensed vapor during sugar distillation, alongside Mia canned sugarcane juice and C-can crushed sugarcane-based energy drinks. Boiler ash and filter cake are recycled into organic fertilizer through 3 factories that supply our old farming network. AgriS's sugar products are now traded on the London and New York commodity exchanges, proving that exports no longer depend on traditional contracts but can flow through cloud-based trading platforms and OEM/ODM production models. AgriS's sugarcane value chain contributes directly to the growth of Vietnam's national sugar value chain. In the early post-war years, the sugar industry has only a few products: yellow sugar, white sugar, molasses, with inconsistent quality and low productivity. Only 38 to 40 tons per hectare between 1975 to 1986, compared to 65 to 70 tons today. Even by 2013, farmers' profits from sugarcane remain modest, around 20 to 30 million Vietnam dong per hectare. Today, that figure has nearly doubled to 50 to 60 million or even 70 million Vietnam dong per hectare for high-performing farms. From both AgriS's and the industry's results, we aim to contribute to the broader picture of Vietnam's sugar value chain, especially in scaling technological solutions across the sector. AgriS believes that the lesson learned from the operating sugarcane production on a high-tech, market-oriented platform can serve as valuable reference data for other agricultural industry across Vietnam. You have completed a portion of this book. To continue listening, please sign up for a Fonos Premium membership. In addition to receiving Fonos credits to exchange for any title, members enjoy unlimited streaming of hundreds of audiobooks in the members' library, along with book summaries, ebooks, children's stories, sleep stories, meditations, and more.